that's nice, isn't it, to sit down? Finally, I've been on my feet all morning. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to introduce the panel, and then we're going to all give a little anecdote about spending. So going from my left to right, first of all, here we have Caroline Leboucher, who's the CEO of Atout France. Next to Caroline, we have Petra Stušek, who's the CEO of Ljubljana Tourism, and also the president of the City Destinations Alliance. And last but not least, we have Guy Antognelli, who is the CEO of the Monaco Government Tourist and Convention Authority. Welcome, thank you. I know that each of you have travelled quite long ways to come here today. We're going to kick off, first of all, with a little anecdote each about spending whilst travelling. I'm going to give my one. I was in Monaco a couple of Morocco, a couple of years ago, and I found myself negotiating for something in a market. The price was, let's just say it was 100, and we got to 100. When I went to pay, I took out my wallet and I only had 60, right? And the guy said to me, okay, all right, I'll take 60. And that made me think that obviously I would have been ripped off, but now I'm getting it 60, so it was a good price. But it's an interesting insight for me that I often speak about in tourism circles, because I feel that cash practice, countries still using cash, lack of transparency on pricing, really affects how tourists spend money. There's a lot of merchants who are losing out. That guy would have got 100 from me if I'd have been able to pay with my card, but instead he only got 60, which I think is a shame. Caroline, do you want to go first with your little anecdote?
Yes, okay. Bonjour, buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. My story would be a no spending story when traveling for business, because I have very little or no time for sightseeing and no time, unfortunately, for shopping. And mostly, I must say that I wish that in airports or railway stations or hotels, we could have access when traveling for business to quality crafts that we could bring back home.
Okay, that's a good insight. Definitely, yeah, business spending is a big one, isn't it? That's a frustration for me. Petra, anecdote, insight, humor?
Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Hi. Well, shopping can be either frustrating or even relaxing, at least for me, numerous times. But actually, I've had the most fun when I bought like a really, really cool experience, which would be a repairment of an umbrella with the local umbrella repairment master. So that was something to take with me forever, actually.
Where was that? I've got a broken umbrella. Where did
it was.
Go?
It's fun. It's fun. It's where you should start, in my hometown, in Ljubljana.
In Ljubljana? Well, yeah. We've got a great reason to visit Ljubljana. Guy, what's your insight to kick off?
Good morning, buenos dias, everybody. It's more on the opposite side. It's people traveling in Monaco, and I remember I was deputy director at the time. Our offices were in the tourist office, really close to the people coming to Monaco, and one man began to shout, but really shouting to our hostesses, very aggressive. So I take him out from the crowd, speak with him. I was robbed. Okay, you were robbed. We have to call the police. I was robbed. I paid 12 euros for a coffee. Okay, guys, what happened? Okay, we were the Friday of the Monaco Grand Prix. He entered a 5-star hotel on the track and asked for a coffee. So, okay, you were not robbed. You paid for what you got. And I know the hotel, when you get a coffee, you get wonderful biscuit and wonderful chocolate with it. So it's not only a coffee. But the idea is, do you know what you are buying? That's the same thing for us. When we are traveling, when you ask for a product, when you ask for a service, are you really aware of what you are buying and the value of it? And what is the value you are putting? We were speaking about coffee before in one of the main points of negative review. Okay, so the coffee was important for him, but was it more important the hotel, the atmosphere, of the coffee. So when spending, it's not I don't think it's a question of money. It's a question of the value we are putting on it. And as tourist professionals, we have to make it clear for the people.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, some good insights to kick off then. So let's talk about the recovery that's been happening over the last year, but from a spend perspective. So not so much the visitor numbers, but those people who are coming back to your destinations. How are they spending compared to before? Patterns, what are they spending on, that kind of thing. I'm sure that each of you got a different story to tell, but do we keep keeping the same order? Do you want to go first, Caroline? How are you seeing it?
Okay, I'd say that travelers' expenditure are quite resilient in France. Last year, France, according to the WTTC, was the leading destination in terms of international travelers' expenditure. That was the first, ahead of the United States and ahead of Spain. Don't worry, guys, Spain should take over this year. This year, there was a quick acceleration this summer, and according to credit card data, we're ahead by 10% compared to pre-pandemic figures for global travelers' expenditures. Regarding international expenditures, we are almost there, back at pre-pandemic figures, only 2% below pre-pandemic figures this summer, and our forecast is that we should reach something around 55 billion euros by the end of the year in terms of international expenditures, compared to 57 billion euros before the pandemic. So
I think we've all got lots to learn from.
It's quite good. I think that we're all talking about revenge travel and so on, but I think that it's a reality.
Okay then, well that's great news for France and for all your merchants and businesses. Petra, so Ljubljana, how's that going?
We have actually exceeded the pre-pandemic numbers. In statistics, which we are strategically actually not following. We're following the prolonged length of stay and the higher expenditure, and that went up too. But we are seeing, not only in Ljubljana, but basically everywhere in Europe, since I'm in touch with a lot of colleagues in my role of the City DNA president, that the shift has changed, that from buying goods, we are shifting in our heads to buying experiences, to come home with really great memories, and we're willing to pay for it. Plus, we're much more willing to pay for the sustainable way of travel in itself, sustainable way of staying in the destination, living there, and for regenerative practices, meaning that you would like to buy the experiences on the destination that you as a guest, plus the society there, the locals would benefit from. So it's a shift from buying goods to buying services, and we are much, much more willing to pay for food than before. And then for the experiences, and then for travel and lodging, and after that for goods in itself. So, and that's what also the researchers are showing. So it's not only just a feeling; it's also the hard facts.
Okay, so it's not just that people are spending again; they're spending in quite different ways. You're saying?
Yeah, the shift in our mind has happened. Plus. We do want to make up for the lost time in the past 2 years, and we saved a lot of money, so this energy crisis really hasn't reflected yet seriously.
Okay. Guy, so how's it looking for the recovery for yourselves in terms of the spend when people were there?
I agree with Petra, because we are not close to the figures of pre-pandemic in terms of volume. We are above in terms of income. It changed a bit, the pattern changed a bit, because you have less spending in souvenir shops and these kind of things, because we have less what we are telling people coming by bus or this kind of visitors. And the other, of course, prices in hotel increase, so they are spending more for hospitality. There is a big trend of spending more in restaurant and high-level restaurant. We experienced double-digit growth in luxury goods, in luxury shops, monitored by a Visa report. But all nationalities, all kinds of goods, except the one who are managed by big volumes, are increasing. So I do consider when all the tourism will be back, and I think it will be, everything will rise. So at the moment, we don't know how long the revenge travel will last. I think by the end of February, perhaps it will be it, because at the moment in America, we are speaking with a virtuoso travel agent, and they told us in March, it's completely crazy. People at the moment are spending for one trip what they used to spend for 1 year of trip.
Wow.
So it's completely crazy. But pattern will change because airfare increase, hotel increase. So at one point, where do we put the value? Still question of value. And as Petra said, we are putting the value on experiences at the moment. We do agree to spend for experiences. Is a luxury bag an experience? Yes, because it will last for a life. But yes, for A or B, not for a people C who want to have a restaurant experience. So we have to really consider what is value.
Okay, interesting. So I think overall positive, no, but there's a change in the spending patterns, and I think that's something that people, the world over, need to be taking into consideration. Next question. What are you doing, with sustainability in mind and so on, and recovery? What are you doing specifically to try and attract the big spenders? I saw recently, maybe some of the audience saw, the tourism minister for New Zealand saying something like, "We don't want backpackers. They come here, they spend $20 a day. They're not the kind of tourists we want." I think there was a sustainability element to that, but they were talking more like hard economics. We want people to come who are going to spend money. What's your view in your destination? How are you, and what are you trying to do to attract, whatever that target is, how are you trying to attract them in terms of the spend? Caroline?
Okay, so in France, we want France to be an inclusive destination, so we're not New Zealand, obviously. But of course, we try to target high spenders, like any other destination. So we are a member of Virtuoso, for instance, working hard together with its network, both French and international partners, American partners especially, with workshops and e-learning sessions, dwelling on exclusive experiences, and of course gastronomy, French art de vivre, and our cultural heritage are great assets in that sense. We are organizing specific events, workshops in Maraba in Dubai, for instance, or French Excellence in Brazil recently. We will host a Duco event with French Palace next month, so we're very active on that field, and also working together with specialized media and magazines, as well as B2C campaigns, together with, for instance, Air France and OTAs, such as Expedia and Palace, once again, or luxury brands.
Okay, interesting mix. I'm glad to hear it's an inclusive destination, so not like New Zealand. In Ljubljana, so you and I had discussion about this before. What's your view on this, and whatever your target is, how are you trying to get them in terms of the spend?
Yeah, it's I'll go with Caroline on inclusivity, and I would guess that New Zealand goes too. If that statement happened, it must have been, I don't know, either misinterpreted or a really bad moment of the day, because it's a kind of short-sighted thing to say, because what are you going to do? Make a barbed wire around your destination for backpackers, or not letting them out of the plane? Or maybe for New Zealand that even could work because they're so distant, but for us in the middle of Europe, definitely not. Anyway, what was already described, basically a lot of destinations are doing. We're also a member of Virtuoso, a program, and it's working for us in the luxury segment, and doing also numerous other targeting actions. But the approach is actually what really matters, or what is really important, because what you have to do is you have to figure out what your DNA is, You have to make good experiences out of it, and you have to make a good collaboration with your partners in the destination, make the product out of that. And of course, talk to your government also that the business environment is favorable enough to attract the brands, because the brands and the certificates are really important, because they're talking not only values of the destination, but also, I mean, what they stand for, but also what they actually do on the destination. So that's what attracts actually the guests. Important thing is that you do it with your humor, that you have a really good storytelling, and of course that you have a really quality actual product. Like, I don't know, I'll go for an example of one of our boutique tours. We're very keen on boutique tours, for example, as a DMO, as a destination. And that includes also a lot of our partners. So we are selling their products through our tours. One of them is called a mustache tour. It's talking about the three big artists of a Slovenian nation, the biggest Slovenian painter, the biggest Slovenian architecture, and the biggest Slovenian writer. And we're a million of two nations. Who cares who these three people are? It's even for us could be boring unless we learn from it in school. But all of them had a mustache. So we made kind of a retro tour through called the Mustache Tour, and it's taking people to on their footsteps, and they are actually experiencing how they live. They can buy craft. They even can do their own craft on these very boutique tours. So they're not only experiencing our way of life and getting to know our heritage, which is a sustainable approach to tourism nowadays, but they also do something good. They're helping the craftsmen, they're helping the local economy, so it's a win-win feeling at the end for all. So that's how we approach. We go out of our DNA, of our way of living, connect the partners in that product that they can sell through the whole thing, and the whole experience is then win-win for everyone. And that's how, in our honest opinion, is how you should approach to tourism in itself, and not talk about who comes to your destination with how much money. Just offer them something that they're willing to spend their last euro on your destination.
That's a very powerful message. Guy, so what's the Monaco?
So Monaco has already an image of exclusive destination. So of course we are targeting high-end spenders, but at one point targeting is also excluding. And as we said, tourism is for everybody. We don't want to exclude. We have to help people to be quality tourists in our destination. Don't tell them, I don't want you because you are not able to spend. Come with us, come by us, and you will have the experience, and you will choose the one you will buy. Because Monaco is seen very often as a theater, and some people are acting, some people are watching the show. But you can move from one part to the other. So be part of the show, being a quality tourist, but being a quality tourist means we build a product, a quality product for everybody. And a former director in my position used to say Monaco is a dream. For everybody, Monaco is a dream. And nobody wants to dream cheap. So you are not a cheap destination. Nobody is a cheap destination because nobody wants to dream cheap. So dream high. You come to Monaco, perhaps you don't come every day. You come for an occasion where you want to spend. So that's the storytelling you have to build around. But we have to tell people they will be welcome, because if you tell them now, don't come today, you will come in 10 years when you will have the money. Okay, you don't want me now. Why do you want me in 10 years? Okay, I come now, I dream, perhaps I do something, I spend only one night, I go only to one restaurant, and in 10 years I will come back and do different things. So we have to be very careful speaking about quality tourism. Quality tourism begins with quality destination and not targeting by the price only.
Okay, very interesting. So three distinct, but I think quite successful approaches there to making sure you get the the right spenders at the right time. Moving on to our next question. The dollar is at an all-time high to the euro. It's also all-time high to the pound, I think, or certainly going back 50 years or so. But at all-time high since the euro came about in the year 2000, whenever that was. And that seems to be affecting demand and interest from the United States to visit Europe. Seems to be affecting demand for spending patterns as well. Looking again from the sort of spending side of things, I think we can take it as a given that there's more Americans coming. Are you seeing that changing the way they're spending? What are they spending on? Is it just that people are buying expensive products, or is it filtering through to other things? Caroline.
Okay, yes, we did observe a surge by 45% this summer in terms of American travelers coming to France.
Wow.
And in terms of spending as well, from 7 up to 10% of global international travel spending in France. So that was huge. In terms of how they spend, I unfortunately do not have figures yet, but we're working on that. What I'd like to say is that, of course, it's important in terms of the ease of spending, but we were just referring to luxury and high-spending travelers before. I think that for those high-spending travelers, okay, it might help, but I don't think that it's the main reason why they came to France or to Europe more generally this summer. I think that most important thing is about quality, as already mentioned, and exclusive experiences, and to give them the once-in-a-lifetime emotion and experience. That's why they're coming over. They could spend a lot of money in New York or elsewhere on luxury brands, but what they're looking for are exclusive experiences. That's why they're traveling.
Okay, so it's an interesting point about the high-end spenders, perhaps very rich people who aren't really looking at exchange rates and doesn't make too much difference to their spending, but maybe for your average traveller, that's up. That's a wonderful figure. So it's gone from 7% to 10% of your, so that's nearly a 50%. Nearly a 50% increase in how much Americans are spending. Petra, how is that affecting Ljubljana, and what patterns are you seeing?
Not only specifically for Americans, goes for basically everyone who's, not everyone, but a lot of travelers nowadays, but it is the fact that, well, the Americans are right now in the second place, statistic-wise, in overnight stays in Ljubljana, which is really high. I'm talking about the summertime, whereas from mid of July on. But what they're specifically looking for are not so much luxury goods, because we as destination are not known for the goods itself, but the unique experiences, the things that they can really uniquely experience in Ljubljana or Slovenia, such as places that are not open to the public. They would be willing to pay to see them, or places that are less known, so off the beaten path, and that they would experience more, even to go to shop on, or to make a really yummy market tour, to shop by themselves and then to cook their own meal out of it. These are the things that they really love, and they are willing to pay for this type of experiences.
Okay, so positive. Guy?
Monaco has always been on the bucket list for American, and this summer we were figures in leisure tourism were higher than in 2019. Partly because we had 17 weekly flights from Nice to New York direct, so it helps a lot Côte d'Azur to have American tourists. American used to be one of the first market, it's the first market of the Principality all year long. It used to be in the 3 first during summer. It was our first market this summer. Americans are back. In fact, they don't change, in Monaco at least, they don't really change the way they spend. They are in Monaco. We can say airlines were expecting to have specifically high-end travelers because the 3 flights, one was operated by La Compagnie. It's a French company flying only business seats airplane, 72 business seats. United put in place Boeing with 48 business seats, and United one with 32 business seats. So front cabins were full this summer. Was not always the case with the economy cabin, but business cabin was completely full. So wealthy Americans are traveling by Virtuoso, by Serendipia, or any other consortia. So we work a lot with them. At the moment, strong dollar is helping them because it's flattening the inflation for them. Because when we have an average increase of 20% in France and in Côte d'Azur in the average daily rate, it's a 20% for us. It's way less for them because in euro, they win the difference of change compared with what they had in 2019. So at the moment, strong dollar is really helping us. So, and we don't see really a change in the way they spend, at least in Côte d'Azur, because they were already high spender and they know Côte d'Azur. It's a traditional destination for them.
So more Americans, but spending
very high level, but as they used to do.
As they used to, okay. And do you think that's because the Americans you're attracting are high spenders anyway, so that people are not so price conscious, or they were always spending as much as they could?
Côte d'Azur is known by Americans to be expensive, so we are really the target for this kind of customers.
Okay. If I may, I think we have to think about the cost of living and inflation. Whether you wanted it or not this summer, you had to spend more on your vacation, whether an American or European traveler. For instance, in France, hotel rates increased by 20%, and I know that it's the same in all over Europe. So I think you have to take this into account. As Guy mentioned, so what's next for next year? Once savings have been used, and once the cost of living is increasing again, so we might see some results and maybe some consequences on traveling.
Okay, so we can't count our chickens yet. Have to wait. Okay then. So moving on to so our last question before we then wrap up and we go to the coffee break. So just we'll be skipping forwards one question here that we'd planned. Vacation rentals. Without naming any particular companies, but vacation rentals. I'm sure you've at a sort of city and countrywide you've got your own policies about how you're dealing with those, and that's not the question. The question is, when people do come to your destinations and they are vacation rentalers, do you see differences in spending patterns? Do they spend maybe more in restaurants, or they do more shopping, or something? How is that? And I think different countries are having different destinations, having different experiences for this. But leaving aside the debate around whether or not it should exist and how it operates, when they're there, what are they different kind of tourists, and do they spend in a different way?
Well, unfortunately, we do not have any study yet on that issue, but what we're trying to do, whether they're staying at hotels or in rentals, is that giving access to information and easy booking for experiences and ticketing. And so we established a specific platform, the government established a specific platform called Alentour. If you don't speak French, it says around you. It means around you. And giving you access through your hotel or your rental, if there's a partnership, to whatever sightseeing or experience or restaurant that you may find around, and book through that platform. So I think that either rental or hotel, anyway, what is very important is that you give easy access to information and booking. Okay,
that's a great initiative. I'd like to see that in some other destinations, so don't have to rely so much on TripAdvisor. Petra, what's your experience in terms of the way they spend when they're there? Does it affect it, or is it just not completely different?
We've done a, let's say, small local research because we were interested. And it actually came out that they're even willing to spend more. They don't really care how do they come to the destination, in a sense of could be also low coster, not necessarily, I don't know, the business class or whatever, but they would be willing to spend a lot of money on the destination, on the things that we just said before several times, on a unique approaches or unique accesses. And yeah, like I said, they're willing to spend even, in a lot of cases, even to spend more. Okay. And to stay longer, that's the most important thing.
Okay, well that's interesting. Without getting into the politics of it all, but just to understand what the spending patterns are. Guy, I can't imagine people doing that in your destination, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's difficult because of the type of lodging we have. In fact, very few people are putting their flats on Airbnb or things like that. You have, in fact, if you check Monaco and Airbnb, you have 120 results, and in fact, only perhaps 20 of them are really in Monaco. All of the other ones are in the surrounding cities, French cities. So we cannot make a study on 20 flats. It's not really it won't tell the truth. But I completely agree with Petra. Where people do they put the value of experience? If you like to travel business class and be in a 5-star hotel, perhaps the whole experience of the destination you want is being in a wonderful hotel. And in Paris, you want to be in Crillon. In Monaco, you want to be in Hôtel de Paris. And that's part of the destination experience for you. If you don't care at all, you are in a flat, you only go to the flat to sleep from 1 a.m. till 7 a.m., and you want to be out all the day. And you spend in restaurant, in guided tour, in museum. That doesn't mean that people in Hôtel de Paris or in Crillon, they don't spend, but they spend differently. You have to give the access to all the experiences. The problem in all the platforms we are building, all the portals we are building on the experiences, on the city, it's referencing, because at the end, everybody is Googling it. So I look at TripAdvisor, what there is to do around me. I look at Google Maps, what is around me? What are the restaurants around me? How are they rated? So if we do this kind of portal, because we have the legitimacy to do it, we have all the contacts, we can put the good experiences on it, we have to put an incredible amount of money to be referenced before all the Google ads. So the real problem of destination is we know how to build the portal, we know how to give access to the experiences, but let know our visitors this portal exists.
Okay, thank you. So I think there's certainly lots to talk about there, isn't there? I promised that we'd wrap up for 11:30 so that the audience can go get their caffeine break. How are we doing, audience? We okay? Yeah, good. Okay then. So we're now going to go for coffee. I'd like to thank Caroline, Petra, and Guy for their contributions, for coming here, and for their insights. I'm sure that that people in the audience will want to talk to you afterwards. And we'll be back soon for the next slots. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you very much.